My name is Hannah. I am 27 years old, and I raised my baby alone. People think being alone is weakness, but I learned that silence, lies, and fear are much worse. I speak now because I have lived through it. I thought staying quiet would keep my life safe. I was wrong. This is how everything slowly fell apart, and how I learned to stand on my own. We used to live a simple life together. Daniel and I shared a small apartment near the bus stop. It was not big, but it felt warm. I cooked dinner in the evening. He came home tired. We ate at the small table by the window. I felt calm in those days. I thought love meant staying close and not asking too much. I knew we did not have much money, but I felt safe. We talked about small dreams, a better job, a bigger room, a family one day. Sometimes we watched TV in silence. Sometimes we laughed at nothing. I thought that was enough. Then my life changed quietly. I found out I was pregnant on a cold morning. I sat on the edge of the bed and held the test. My hands were shaking. I felt scared, but I also felt hope. I whispered to myself, "This will bring us closer." That night, I told Daniel. He did not smile. He looked at his phone and said nothing for a long time. I thought he was just surprised. I told myself to stay calm. After that, things felt different. Dinner became cold before we ate. My messages stayed unread. He came home later. He spoke less. I felt something was wrong, but I stayed quiet. I thought love meant patience. I thought silence could protect us. I knew deep inside that I was changing myself to keep peace. But peace did not come. Only distance did. One evening, I told Daniel again that I was pregnant. I stood near the kitchen door. My hands were cold. I felt my heart beat fast. I said, "We need to talk." He sat on the sofa and looked at the wall. I told him everything. I told him about the doctor. I told him about the baby. He did not look at me. He said only 2 words. "Not now." I felt my chest tighten. I thought maybe he needed time. I whispered to myself, "Stay calm." I knew pushing him would make things worse. For a moment, I thought he was just scared. I told myself time would fix everything. I believed love would help him change. I felt a small hope inside me. Days passed. Weeks passed. We lived in the same house, but not together. Then the rules started to change. Daniel began to talk about money every day. He asked where I went. He asked when I came home. He checked the bills. He checked the clock. One night, I bought baby clothes after work. They were small and soft. When I came home, he saw the bag. He said, "Why did you buy that?" I said, "We need it." He said, "Not yet." I felt my face get hot. I took a deep sigh. I thought love meant staying quiet. So I said nothing. After that, he gave me less money. He told me to work more hours. He told me to rest less. He said it was for our future. I felt tired all the time. My feet hurt after work. My back felt heavy. I came home late and ate alone. Some nights, I sat on the bed in silence. I looked at the floor. I knew something was breaking, but I stayed quiet. To survive, I held on to small things. I worked night shifts at the care home. The halls were quiet. Old people slept. The lights were low. When I came home, I cleaned the small room. I wiped the table. I wiped the window. Then I wiped the wooden crib. I touched the wood with slow hands. I felt calm for a moment. I whispered to myself, "I can do this." Every day felt the same. Wake up. Work. Come home. Say little. I thought this was just a hard time. I thought families go through this. I believed patience was love, but I did not know something important. I didn't know his silence was already a decision. I didn't know he had already chosen. I was wrong, and that was only the beginning. One evening, I came home later than usual. The apartment felt quiet. Too quiet. I saw Daniel's jacket was gone. His shoes were not by the door. A small bag stood near the wall. I felt my breath slow down. I knew something was wrong. My hands were shaking, but I stayed still. Daniel came out of the bedroom. He did not look angry. He did not look sad. He looked empty. I asked, "What are you doing?" My voice sounded small. He folded a shirt and put it in the bag. "I need space," he said. Nothing more. I felt my legs go weak. I held the chair with one hand. I thought he would stop. I thought he would explain. But he didn't. There was no shouting, no crying, only the sound of the zipper closing. I looked at his face, waiting. I waited for fear. I waited for regret. I waited for love. I knew this moment would change everything. He walked to the door and paused. His hand stayed on the handle for a second. The room felt heavy. I could hear my own breathing. Then he turned and said one thing, "I can't do this." That was all. The door closed softly. I stood there alone. I did not run after him. I did not call his name. I felt cold from head to toe. I whispered to myself, "Stay standing." I stood in silence for a long time, and I knew this was not a break. This was an ending. After Daniel left, the apartment felt empty. The walls felt closer. The air felt heavy. That night, I sat on the bathroom floor. The light was too bright. The tiles were cold under my legs. I held my face with both hands. My shoulders shook. Tears ran down my face without sound. I thought, if only I had asked him to stay. I felt my chest tighten. I thought, if only I had been louder. I knew these thoughts would not bring him back. I stayed there for a long time. I took a deep sigh. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red. My face looked tired. I whispered to myself, "You have to stand." Later, I walked into the small room. The wooden crib stood near the wall. I touched it with slow hands. The wood felt cold and hard. I held the edge and closed my eyes. I knew then what I had to do. I said the words out loud, very softly. I will not beg someone to love their own child. The weeks passed slowly. My body felt heavy every day. I worked. I came home. I slept little. Then one night, the pain started. My hands were shaking. My back hurt. I breathed in and out. There was no one to hold my hand, no one to say my name. At the hospital, the lights were white and strong. I held the bed rail. I felt scared, but I stayed still. I whispered to myself again, "You are not alone." When my baby cried for the first time, I cried too. Tears ran down my face. I held my baby close. I knew this was the moment everything changed. I was no longer waiting. I was a mother. A few weeks later, Daniel came back. He stood outside my door and knocked softly. I held my baby in my arms and did not move at first. I felt my body go still. I knew why he was there. It was not love. It was fear. When I opened the door, he did not step inside. He looked past me, not at me. His eyes went to the baby, then away. He said my name once, very quietly. I did not invite him in. I stayed where I was. He started to speak, but his words broke. He talked about his parents. He talked about questions. He talked about problems. I listened without interrupting. My hands were steady. My heart felt heavy, but clear. I told him the truth. I told him how he left. I told him how I gave birth alone. I told him how I worked and did not sleep. I knew every word mattered. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. People heard. The silence around us changed. He looked down at the floor. His shoulders dropped. There was nothing left to say. I felt a deep breath leave my chest. The air felt lighter. I whispered to myself, "This is enough." Daniel said nothing more. He did not explain. He did not ask to stay. He turned around slowly and walked away. He walked away in silence. After he left, the house became quiet. Not the heavy quiet from before, but a clean one. I closed the door and stood there for a moment. I felt my shoulders drop. I took a slow breath. My hands stopped shaking. I knew the worst part had passed. That night, I moved through the rooms slowly. I washed the cups. I wiped the table. I checked the window. Everything felt simple. I held my baby and walked from room to room. The light was soft. The air felt calm. I whispered to myself, "It is over." When I lay down to sleep, my body felt tired in a new way. Not fear, just rest. I felt my chest rise and fall. For the first time in many nights, I slept deep. I did not wake up to check my phone. I did not listen for footsteps. I slept. In the morning, the sun came in through the window. I sat on the bed and watched my baby breathe. I felt steady. There was no loud victory, no words to prove anything. I thought about what had happened, and I felt clear. I knew I had not shouted. I knew I had not begged. I had stood still and told the truth. Justice did not need noise. It did not need anger. It came quietly, like peace returning to a room. I whispered to myself again, "This is dignity." Months later, my life looked different. Not easy, but clear. I woke up early every morning. I fed my baby. I got dressed for work. I felt tired, but I moved anyway. I worked long hours at the care home. I cleaned rooms. I helped old people stand and walk. My feet hurt at the end of the day. Sometimes my back felt stiff, but when I came home, my baby waited for me. That gave me strength. I did not ask anyone to save me. I paid the bills slowly, one by one. I bought only what we needed: milk, diapers, warm clothes. I thought about money often, but I did not panic. I knew I could handle today. Tomorrow would come later. Some nights were quiet, too quiet. I sat by the window and watched the streetlights. I felt lonely at times. I thought about the past, but I did not stay there. I whispered to myself, "Keep going." Little by little, I felt stronger. I knew my routine. I trusted my hands. I trusted my heart. One evening, I stood in the small room and looked at the wooden crib. My baby slept inside it. Her chest moved up and down. The room was warm. The light was low. I touched the edge of the crib and smiled. Not a big smile, just a quiet one. I thought, I did this. I felt calm. I felt proud. I learned something important from this journey. Some people do not leave by accident. They leave by choice. I thought many times about what happened. I felt pain, but I also felt clarity. I knew that when someone chooses to walk away, choosing yourself is not selfish. It is survival. I whispered to myself that staying strong was not pride. It was necessary. I looked at my life and understood this truth slowly. Love should not require silence. Care should not demand fear. I knew I had done what I had to do. And to every mother who stayed when someone walked away, I want to say this. You are brave. You wake up tired. You keep going anyway. You protect your child with your whole heart. I felt deep respect for women like you. Your strength may be quiet, but it is real. Stories like this do not live only in books or videos. They live in real homes, in small rooms, and in quiet nights. You may think your struggle is rare, but you are not alone. Every day, millions of mothers do something extraordinary, without applause. You wake up. You keep going. You carry more than people see. The first lesson is clear. Silence does not save a family. You may feel that staying quiet will keep peace. You may think waiting will fix things. But silence often hides the truth. Problems grow when no one speaks. The second lesson is harder to face. Avoiding responsibility is a form of harm. When someone chooses comfort instead of duty, that choice hurts others. You may feel confused or guilty, but deep inside, you know love should show up, not disappear. The third lesson changes how you see yourself. Being a single mother is not failure. It is steady strength. You may feel tired. You may feel afraid. But raising a child alone takes courage, patience, and deep care. Think of the mothers who stay up late, the mothers who work while exhausted, the mothers who choose their child instead of someone who walked away. You may be tired, but you are strong, and your love is enough. If you are a single mother, this story is for you. You are not weak. You are brave. Share your story in the comments and subscribe to Peak English Stories.